He's going to find himself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So New York in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. Doesn't qualify as well as he races. Only
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Barani not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haight deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
And I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately, isn't it? What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the rail pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Oh, Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Typical, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Barani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pite's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pite. Good have a go. Werrell, don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's just like trouble. He's not a second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Bill Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot have fun. Yeah.
It's all about the entertainment.
So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is enjoying himself watching the Burger King machines off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Oh, they're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's not a second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry! Good evening and welcome back to Sunday nights and the iGPFun F3 League. Round 1 of Season 1 of 23-24 live from the HockenheimRing. I am James Parfitt. I'm going to be alongside Mr. Ewan O'Leary, who's going to be joining me once again. There's been some changes this season as well to the amount of drop rounds. Well, there isn't going to be any. Basically, the season is only 10 races long with no drop rounds. So one crash could have a huge impact on the final standings. The HockenheimRing itself, of course, 16 corners of epic raceway here, and it's going to be a very interesting season, I am sure. We've got the defending champion back once more. Kenzie Neuhoff is here. We've got the likes of Jesper Sandström back in, Andy Flynn, Will McIntyre-Jones, Lee Aberdeen, Tony Jimenez and Samuel Hermer. We've got a lot of new drivers onto the grid as well. More names that me and Ewan are going to have to learn to pronounce. Let's bring Ewan into the booth straight away. Ewan, how are you doing, sir?
Looking forward to another season, which is fantastic. The iGPFun F3 League back again here at Hockenheim. It's a circuit that Luca Verani expressed a bit of concern actually at this being the opening round because it can provide some problems in terms of this hairpin, which is going to be the main worry. Turn 6 on the opening lap. There it is. That's going to be a difficult one to get through on the opening lap. Verani was a bit concerned about that, but I'm sure we're in for a good season. Just 10 rounds, which should keep the championship a little bit closer, although we don't have any drop rounds, so maybe someone will stretch away with the lead from early on. We'll see.
And it does make our maths a heck of a lot easier without having to worry about drop rounds here as well. That's the thing. I read them, Luca sending us an update. One of the things that did catch me off guard was the fact that they've got 20 kilometers an hour of wind that can change direction now. Obviously, he voiced concerns that the car can get away from you at times as well. I think it's going to be quite interesting to see how these guys handle the wind scenario. We sit back and say, well, is it really going to be that much of a difference? Is it going to be that much of a interference, we should say? But I think it can cause problems on obviously certain straights if you've got a tailwind, that massive overspeed as well. He voiced concerns regarding brake bias going, starting on a 54, finishing on a 56, just moving it forward. Partly, obviously, the burning of fuel and balance of the front and rear tyre usage. I think it's going to be an interesting one because, as we read earlier on, some people have complained about tyre wear, others haven't complained about tyre wear. It's going to be a really interesting race. I think 30 laps around here as well. We've got the traditional purple zone as well, so no active overtakes until they get past turn 1, which is a lot shorter than we expected here as well. So that could play into the hands of the fast runners at the front. But I do think that 10 rounds, no drop rounds, a straight race, a straight finish, straight going for it, is going to provide a great mixture of racing, whether that's going to be hard aggressive or a little bit more cautious racing here, and I think it's going to be a really interesting season to get this up. Now, the reason we have only got 10 rounds is obviously Sunday does land on Christmas Day, which, as we know, none of us really work on Christmas Day.
Eve.
Christmas Eve? Or was it Christmas Day?
Yeah, Christmas Eve.
Oh, Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, but I mean, for some of the drivers, especially in Europe, it will be like for Nicholas Westman, for example, it will be turning into Christmas Day if we were to race, because it will be midnight nearly. So we're not racing, as you might understand, on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve.
Yeah, and the likes of some of the Polish guys and that celebrate their Christmas Day on Christmas Eve as well. It's it just makes complete sense not to have that there. We have got Craig Jones in chat. Good job, Mick Barry's not racing with no drop rounds. Yeah, it's going to provide some interesting racing. That's going to bring a different thought pattern, isn't it, to some of these drivers with the fact that they haven't got a drop round to rely on?
Well, maybe. I've not felt really in previous seasons as if people are taking it cautious because there's a drop round. That's never really factored into my thinking while watching these races, but maybe it has been affecting a few of these drivers in the past in terms of what they're willing to do on the circuit, because they know they have that to fall back on. It's certainly going to mean the chances of the title fight, I think, being settled before the final round is very small, in my opinion. For example, last season, Max Bartolotta and Kenzie Neuhoff had very similar point scores, even though, to be fair, Neuhoff wasn't at one of the rounds, so maybe that would have changed things a little bit. Bartolotta would have won if it was on total points last season, for example. But what it means is, if you're just within 43 points of the championship leader before the final race, you are in contention for the title. And 4 drivers ended the season within 40 points of Kenzie Neuhoff, the championship winner last season. So I think we're going to have more than a two-way title fight on the last race of the season. And that's a good part to this no drop rounds. I just think, it's going to be the championship leader may well have a fairly large lead by the end of 9 rounds, as it will be, going into the final one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really up in the air. We've seen, drivers get involved in incidents. We've seen drivers, race clean, not turn up. There's been a great mixture. We're going into our 4th season now with the IGP. It's been four seasons already, a full year with IGP here. And we've seen it all. We've seen cars up in the air. We've seen them pirouette. We've seen them take wins by miles. We've seen everything. But we've never seen a season without drop rounds. And I'm going to be very interested to see how this plays in, because they haven't got a drop score. They will have to just go full bore or take it easy, however they want to deal with it, the situation. Some of the surprises so far is Pedro Suarez, who's down in 28th. Giovanni Salito, who's down in 40th. We've got 46 cars that have set a time. Gerald Heredia has not got a time on the board as of yet. So I think it could be a very interesting season, and one that I would definitely bookmark, guys, and sit back and watch, because you are going to be in for some very interesting racing. What do we think championship contender is? What are we expecting this season? Can Kenzie Neuhoff make it another one?
I reckon he can. I think he'll be up there. He's always consistent, which is the thing he can rely on for Neuhoff, which is the thing. Andy Flint had a decent season. Tony Jimenez is pretty good on the consistency front as well. Just not sure he'll be able to finish inside the top 3 enough times and get, score more than 40 points consistently, which is what you realistically need to do. I mean, over 10 scores last season, Kenzie Neuhoff had an average point score of 40.5 points over the course of that season. That is an average finishing position of what, third or fourth, 3.5, which I know is not possible, but you get the idea. 3.5 is average finishing position over the course of the season is really remarkable. Jesper Sandström, if he's here the whole time, will be one to watch. He's proven that he can win titles. Lee Aberdeen as well, and you don't need to ask Kenzie Neuhoff twice about that. So there's a few contenders here, certainly, but it's going to be very difficult to tell after round 1. It really matters who's here regularly. That's going to be the key.
Exactly. If you want to be in the chance of winning the championship, you've got to turn up. You haven't got drop rounds to rely on. So if you miss 2, it could put you in a whole heap of trouble. This is one of them trouble corners, turn 12. We've seen people before on the curb on the exit of turn 12 just go round and do some wonderful pirouettes before they hit the wall on the left-hand side, or the barrier, I should say, on the left-hand side here. So I think all in all, this season could be one of the best that we will see. We've got Will McIntyre-Jones, who's just finishing off his qualification lap. He's on a 1:30.862 at the moment, sitting in 5th place. Let's see what he is able to do as he's going to be going over. Oh, well, that's going to be an invalidated lap, I'm sure, with an off-track running that far out. So we are just near enough finish qualifying, and we will bring you up at the grid here of all of these drivers on this track ready to rock and roll. And let's start you off with the first grid of the season. Yes, Samstrom is in first, with Lee Aberdeen in second. Andy Flint is in third, with Kenzie Newhoff fourth. Will McIntyre-Jones in fifth. Tony Jimenez in sixth. Samuel Hermer seventh. Julio Palacio in eighth. Brent Ruiz in ninth. Mackenzie Roon in 10th. Kevin Webster 11th. And Luca Varani down in 12th place. Then on from that is Evan Way in 13th. Evan van der Hoek in 14th. Sinan Dimibras in 15th. Nicholas Westman 16th. Jack Williams 17th. Patrick Piper in 18th. Sebastian Hirsch in 19th. Leonard Cherry 20th. Stu Milne 21st. Adam Townswood 22nd. And Zoltan Zamota 23rd, with Ryan Berry rounding out the 24 drivers. Then we go into Robert Ridgway, Pedro Suarez, Nick Carty, Vyacheslav Podopenko, Michael Volkering, and Debo Rabelard in 30th place. Then we've got Premislav Mayaka in 31st, Clark Williams 32nd, Koji Ito 33rd, with Reed Dennis in 34th, and Reno Scatini in 35th, with Chris Stewart rounding out the top 36. On from there, Ben Goyet in 37th, Marcello Kessler 38th, Oscar Artinio in 39th, Giovanni Solito 40th, Matthew Gracie 41st, Patrick Rowlands 42nd, with Zert Blanco in 43rd, Chris Georgiandelides in 44th, Maximilian Gebhardt 45th, with Matt Brewer in 46th, and Gerard Heredia in 47 cars taking to the grid. We're just waiting for the ones on the front to get on, and then we will be up and running with the first race of the season. We got 30 laps round the HockenheimRing, and it's going to be an absolutely barnstorming race. Stay tuned for this one as we go on with our leader Jesper Sandström, who's going to be taking the lights and getting us up and running. We're just waiting for Clark Williams to get on to the grid. As you can see, the grid does go round the final corner, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the first race of this season is green, green, green. And it is Jesper Sandström and Lee Aberdeen leading them away. Going into turn 1 with Kenzie Newhoff, Will McIntyre-Jones and Tony Jimenez. Oh, it's been a big one at the back. Oh, dearie me. There has been a big one right at the back already here, Ewan, as cars strewn down into turn 2. And we'll have a look back at that start very, very shortly. But some drivers did not get lucky on that one.
Well, that's a bit of a disaster of a start to the season, I'm afraid. It looks like we've got Kevin Webster out of the race. Palacio also, Julio Palacio is out of the race, and Nicholas Westman as well has gone back to pit lane. It's been a disaster. It was in the lower part of the top 10 through turn 1, and now in towards the hairpin. Things are actually a little bit calmer because of that crash. It means that there's a bit more space for everybody, and so that fear at the hairpin has all transferred to turn 1, and in the end they've taken the crash through there instead. It's side by side here for second. Lee Aberdeen makes his way through ahead of Andy Flint, who's now being hounded by Kenzie Newhoff, who looks to the outside, then the inside. Will McIntyre-Jones is there though. He'll be looking to go through into the Mobil 1 curve, but backs out of it, decides that this is not a good idea. That was carnage at turn number 1. It was at the lower part of the top 10. And unfortunately, it's seen a few drivers have a disastrous start to their season.
Yeah, it looks like Kevin Swenstra was one of them involved in this. This could be an interesting one. Nick Carty there, also looking like he's had a bit of a moment. It looks like there's actually been contact before this has actually gone on. I'm wondering what Kevin Webster got himself up to and whether or not what he actually did here. He's on the outside in that 31. He got tapped round from Varani as well. Oh, Jack Williams takes him out, unfortunately, on that one. So a bit of Varani, a bit of Zwemstra, and it all looked like it just went a little bit wrong for all of them. But Samuel Hermer still going in 6th place, up 1 places at the moment. The top 5 are the only ones who have not changed positions here, Ewan. And I think that just basically stems from the fact they got away at the start.
Well, it was all a bit further in front of the likes of Webster and Varani as well, really. There was another bit of contact in front as well, so it was all just a bit of a mess, unfortunately. Jack Williams was pretty innocent bystander there, and I'm amazed that as many drivers got through as they did, actually. We've only seen 5 down in pit lane. Williams is back out there again, as is Marcelo Kessler. I'm not sure Kevin Webster is going to be back again, and Nicholas Westman isn't going to be either, neither is Julio Palacio. So Webster may well return, actually, but Palacio and Westman probably won't. There's been an incident further back as well involving Ryan Berry and maybe Vyacheslav Potapenko, I think was maybe one of the others. We'll wait and see on this one. In towards the corner. It looks like it was on his own, actually. Yeah. Ryan Berry braking, getting it all wrong, and unfortunately sending a few wide to avoid him, but most of his hard work gaining places and surviving the opening lap there has been undone with that spin. Yeah,
absolutely, unfortunately for him, but Samuel Hermer chasing down Will McIntyre-Jones now, who's got the likes of Jimenez, Ruiz, Mackenzie Roon, even Van der Hoek behind that as well. Adam Townsma is finding himself locked in a battle with Pedro Suarez, who is up 8 places at the moment for Pedro Suarez here, and looking at trying to make it 9 on Adam Townsma as these guys go round turn 2, off through 3 and 4, and now they've got this run down into the down into the Spitzker hairpin, down through the Parabolica. Now can Pedro Suarez make it up? We expecting the Spitzker here, Ewan, to provide most of the overtakes at the moment. I think it's probably one of the only places on the circuit that has got great opportunity.
Yeah, this hairpin down here has got to be high up on the list in terms of a place to overtake, because it's a huge braking zone, very tight corner, but it's such a tight corner that you do find yourself sometimes getting a good run round the outside, and that's where it becomes a bit difficult to overtake. So there'll be a few drivers hoping that's not the case over the course of the race here today. It looks like we're settling in, though, to this one at the moment. We're about to complete lap 3 of the season. Still a long way to go in this one, of course. 27 laps at the end of this one here at Hockenheim, but thankfully we've taken lap 2 and 3 a little bit more cautiously, a little bit more carefully than the opening lap, which saw so much contact, and a real surprise really to see what we did on that opening lap.
Yeah, there's been Oscar Antigliano has gone off here, unfortunately, for that Spaniard in the XPD Emerald car. Oh, he was helped, mind you, as well. Was that Giovanni Salito that may have actually been helping him round there, unfortunately for him? Was it Giovanni? No. Well, I think it possibly was Giovanni, actually, who did help him round in that yellow car. Yep, he's got no nose on his car, so it clearly was Giovanni Salito there, just running in too deep here once more. Gerard Heredia, who's up 15 places from the back of the grid. He is chasing down the guys in front of him currently at the moment, which is Kevin Webster, who's obviously behind him here. He's a back marker, making his way through the order as Kevin is. He's doing a great job flying along at the moment, trying to get some of these places back. Going to be difficult for him. Maximilian Gebhardt here as well, and Patrick Rowlands are having a nice little battle once more as they go into Spitzker as well. There's battles developing all the way through the field. One man that's not actually had to worry about battles, as we can see here with Gebhardt and Rowlands almost going side by side. Round through turn 7 into Mercedes they go. The left-hander now. Can Gebhardt hold on? That's going to be the question. Or is that this man, Patrick Rowlands, going to be able to get hold of him here once more on that run now up through the Mobile 1 curve? The right-hander, you're going to dab the brakes, get on it. Now try and get the acceleration down and see if you can make it through on turn 12. Some great action further down the field. The front has spread out a little bit more than we expected.
A little bit, but I think Samu Hermer is going to be on the move here. He really impressed towards the latter portion of the previous season, the final season, of 2023, he was very strong indeed. He just didn't really appear in the first half of the season. He wasn't there at all to really score the points that he needed to. As they're just in front of Ron, as Gerhardt gets up in front of Maschenka in the 32nd place, and now Patrick Rollins will follow Gerhardt through into 33rd. So those passes have been made. Will Samuel Herman be able to find his way through up front? Well, not sure. Brent Ruiz is going to go side by side though with Mackenzie Roon here for 8th place. The two Americans going for this side by side in towards the Mercedes section, right in front of the stand at turn 8. And it's Brent Ruiz who prevails in that one for 8th place. There are some battles towards the lower portion of the top 10 by the looks of things, even if Jesper Sandström already has a second and a half in the lead.
Yeah, he definitely does. Andy Flint has got Kenzie Noor closing in behind. We were just talking about Samuel Herman, then he runs wide, coming out of Mobile 1, and then through turn 12 he's going to jink left into 13, through 14 now as well. Into 15 he goes. He can see Will McIntyre Jones there. He's got the bit between his teeth as Mackenzie Roon. He's trying to go after Will McIntyre Jones. He's got to try and close up on him. Coming out of turn 1, he's got to try and get a better exit and then maybe get that run up through Eintracht Parabolica, which is turn 2, and then the run through the actual Parabolica, which obviously is that long curve in left-hander all the way down into Spitzker. It's going to be tough at the moment here as well. Draft plays a massive effect here at the moment, and obviously Herman being that half second, not quite picking it up. He's now started getting the tail end of it. He's pulling it down here, but I think it's not, he's got to be within sort of 4.5 tenths to actually make the most of the draft. And as you can see how close he gets there, Ewan. Are we saying then they've got to be literally within 2.5 tenths to actually make it through by the end of the time they get down into Spitzker?
Well, it does somewhat depend on the levels of downforce that these two have got on. If Will McIntyre Jones has really trimmed his car out, then Herman's going to find it difficult from whatever distance he is behind that car, especially if he's loaded the downforce on. It's one of those circuits where you do have two philosophies with regards to the downforce. You can either really strip back on it, or you can load it on, and whether either is a good idea I'm not sure, but it's certainly something to think about as you're having to go through this. Samuel Herman, I think, should just be patient though. We saw a lot of times throughout last season that Will McIntyre Jones didn't exactly race quite as well as he qualified. He often fell back towards the latter portion of the races for whatever reason that was. I'm not entirely sure what the reason was, but he did seem to struggle in the races. And so if Herman just bides his time, waits for the opportunity, then you'd think he'll be able to find his way through into the top 5.
Yeah, as he goes through turn 2, now they're going to jink left through turn 3, onto that Parabolica left-hander they go. Herman this time is about 3 tenths back. It's coming down to 6.25. You can see it on the left-hand side there. Now he's within a tenth for the moment. Surely this has got to be Herman's mark. He pulls out. He goes to send it out the inside, coming into Spitzker. McIntyre Jones now goes side by side. They're running out side by side on the run up through turn 7. The right-hander now, before they go into the Mercedes complex. Herman and McIntyre Jones still side by side. McIntyre Jones is going to at the inside. Going into turn 8 there. He does make it through and holds on to that place. The question really, though, for McIntyre Jones and Ewan, how much longer can he do that for? He's got literally 23 laps to try and hold Samuel Herman up.
Well, exactly. That's the real problem here, the amount of laps remaining. Herman there didn't take a very good line through the Mobile 1 curve. He should have gone for a later apex there for a bit of a run towards this sort of banked left-hander at the Sachs curve at turn 12. Didn't do that in the end, and so he's still stuck behind. The growing, I think the only concern here for Herman is the growing gap to Neuhoff. If he had designs on finishing in the top 4, then he needs to get on with it quickly. Is that realistically a target for Herman? I'm not entirely sure it is. I think he should bide his time and try and make this move correctly and quickly on Will McIntyre Jones, and not rush into a move that might well get you in an incident and get you a penalty.
Yeah, well, we're going to go. He's going to go again once more round down through the parabolica with 3.5 attempts out this time. We're now coming down into the 2s already. Now we're going to go again. Is he going to be able to make a closure gap? I don't think he's going to be close enough. I don't think he got that 2.5 attempts. You can see behind him action here as well with Van der Hoek, who has just gone past Mackenzie Room. McIntyre Jones has had an incident, unfortunately. Oh, what did McIntyre Jones come and do going down into the Spitskare here? He goes on the defensive. Did he just get on the power a little bit too much? He slides it on the way in into Hermer as well. Everybody tries to check up, and McIntyre Jones tries to get on his way. Townsmer and Swebstra have had a coming together as well. There is Kevin Swebstra there going 3 wide. That's not a good idea here with, I believe that's one of the MRPs. I think it might be Robert Ridgway. Oh, Townsmer goes round. Swebstra's got nowhere to go. And unfortunately, no front wing on Kevin Swebstra's car. He has jumped directly back to the pits. That is going to be his first round of the season over and done with. Hermer's into the pits now. He loses that place to Brent Lewis. Van der Hoek, Rune, Piper, Way. Demi Brass has also gone through. Leonard Cherry is expected to go through as well. Stuart Milne down here. He's trying to get through. He's gone through on Hermer. He's got Pedro Suarez, who is up 11 places as they go through turn 1 now. Suarez making a massive gain here. Hermer and McIntyre Jones just, well, 25th, 26th place. What about Gracie? Is he going to be able to get through? He did. Reno Scattini did as well. Hermer comes out in 27th place there, Ewan. Adam Townsman looks like he's had a bit of another ta-ta-ta with himself, but Tony Jimenez and Brent Ruiz with Van der Hoek and Mackenzie Room, Piper and Way. Daniel Brass also in this as well with Leonard Cherry just a little bit further back there in the background. But these 6 cars having a barnstorming battle. Not a great start to the season for Hermer. Not a great start for McIntyre Jones. It looks like Willems has had one to forget as well. Adam Townsmer, Kevin Swebstra has all gone and out. And Nicholas Westman as well. Some big names out in round 1 so far.
Yeah, there certainly are. And this is the real problem with having no drop rounds. That is going to mean a very difficult rest of the season for those that have had problems already. That's why I would say to Hermer, you've got to be patient and make the move correctly. Unfortunately, it wasn't really his fault, the fact that he got into contact there with Will McIntyre Jones. But either way, it's happened. And they're both now down to 27th and 28th, just looking to recover what they can. I think what we've learned, though, is that most of these drivers are going to have some sort of off-round at some point. Admittedly, the lowest that Kenzie Newell finished last season at races he attended, the 11 races he attended, was 11th place last season. The lowest that Tony Jimenez finished was 15th, for example. The guys at the front of the championship don't often finish very far down, and that's already a bit of a hammer blow to the likes of Hermer and Will McIntyre Jones in this championship, even at round 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with you. Hermer's got Scattini and McIntyre Jones behind him as well. We're on the front right of Demir Bass here as well, as he's chasing down Evan Way, that's in front of us at the moment, with Piper, Rune, Hoik all behind that as well. Pedro Suarez is trying to still get past Stu Milne. Zoltan Zamador is also. Chris Stewart has just passed Reed Dennis. So Chris Stewart puts himself up 15 places and into 21st at the moment. Pedro Suarez there as well, as you see Stu Milne just in front of us currently at the moment there. So Suarez just about managing to get side by side through the Mercedes, and now on that run through turn 11 into Mobile 1 they go, then down into 12. Suarez making gains here, but he's got to be making gains a little bit quicker than this, because he's got a good couple of seconds up to Demibas, who's in 11th place. So Suarez has got to make gains, and he's got to make them a little bit quicker.
Well, I think these overtakes are going to take as long as they'll take, really. It's not one of those circuits where you have... Oh, well, there you go. That makes his life a bit easier. Stuart Milne goes off the road, unfortunately, at the final corner, and so Suarez is clear. It's not one of those circuits, though, where you're going to get loads of chances per lap. You ought realistically have that one towards the hairpin, and maybe the battle will continue on to Mercedes at turn 8, but realistically, you've only got 1, maybe 2 chances over the course of a lap, so overtakes will take as long as they'll take.
And Pedro Suarez has built this result so far on being patient. There's no point in ruining that now and doing anything rash.
Now we've got Kevin Webster who's joined us in YouTube chat there as well with the simple words of no words. I can't really answer the question. Unfortunately, Kevin, Adam Townsend just got a little bit too hot into Spitzke. You come around the corner.
Well, you say that I agree with that one, but what about turn one? I think maybe what he's referring to a little bit more.
Well, yeah, we can't really. How do we deal with that? Who are you going to put the blame on here? You see them running away here. Varani is coming up behind. You can see the cars in front already. There's already contact there before Webster and Varani goes round, and then Jack Williams just comes and gives Webster a right old wallop. So it's a little bit harder to.
Yeah, but it's not always about placing blame, is it? It's sometimes about the fact that that you've been caught up in something. Really, that's the annoying part. Regardless of whether anyone's at fault or not. So I think that's what
the main issue,
sort of what it's all about for these guys who've been caught up back here, because. We can try and place blame if you really want to, or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's the people who've been involved and who are out of the race now because of it who feel most aggrieved, whether anyone was at fault or not.
Yeah, exactly. And the problem is obviously from our perspective, as you say, it's easy to sit here and say it was his fault, that fault. Really, there was no. It shouldn't really be happening in turn one with two experienced drivers of Luca Varani and Kevin Swemstra. I think that's the main surprise. It's not something that we're used to sitting here saying, as Varani is under attack from Hockenheimring at the moment, who's going up the inside into turn 7. He's going to try and run around the outside of the Mercedes corner complex here as well. He's going to have that inside line. Is he still going to hold on? Varani comes round and takes the nose off Hockenheimring there, and they've also got Zoltan Zamota in the background here as well for a little bit more company for these two drivers in front of him. It's going to be an interesting development over the next 17 laps. See whether or not Varani can hold on from Hockenheimring. Hockenheimring does look quick, and last time out was a 1:32.4. Varani was a 1:32.2, and Zamota did his fastest lap on a 1:32.39. So they're all within a couple of tenths of each other. It could lead to some great racing down here further down the order in 18th, 19th and 20th, so we can keep an eye out on that one. But at the moment, let's hop up back inside the top 10 with Evan Way, Patrick Piper, Mackenzie Roon, Sinan Demibras behind them all as well, scrapping away. 17 to go here. We've lost some major contenders already. What are we going to see over the next 17 laps?
I think this battle's going to continue on. I think that's one of the things that is going to be a constant here. Whether there's going to be any more inside the top 10, I'm not really sure. I think all the gaps inside the top 6 are only growing at this stage, but stuff further behind is certainly sort of developing here. Everyway's coming under increasing pressure now from Sinan Demibas in the 11th position. As we go back a bit further in the field, have a look at Chris Stewart here in a right-up battle for positions outside the top 20, and there's contact on the way towards the hairpin, and even more in the way through. That was bizarre.
Yeah, that was Stewart and Dennis with Potapenko also. I think he registered as he had an incident purely due to the fact that he was involved in it. But Zoltan Zamota, Hockenheimring here and Varani are going at it now as well. That's also Rabelard and Ridgway, I believe, in the front, the leading front of this car in that Atomic Racing F3. What is going to happen here with these 5 cars? Are they going to end up getting into a little bit of a ta-ta-ta? Or are we hoping that they get through each other here, Ewan? What are we expecting at this moment in time? 5 cars battling out and not very far apart at all.
I'm surprised Varani's actually up in 18th, to be honest, because he came to a dead stop round turn 1 on the opening lap, and he did make slight bits of contact as well. Clearly he's still going all right though in terms of his car's not damaged at the very least. Thibaut Rabillard is just up in front
and making his defence at the moment. New driver for this season, or at least wasn't here for the last couple. He's on the defensive now towards the hairpin, right round the outside for Luca Verani. He's going to run out of space there pretty quickly, and the run is so bad actually that Volkering might be fancying his chances now. Michel Volkering, who's going to get in the slipstream here, I think be too far back for a dive. It would be a bit of a lunge, and Verani makes sure that he can't go for it by nearly rear-ending Rabelais in his defence of that 18th place.
Yeah, he did. He went in very, very hot, did Verani there, and made sure he thought Volkering was not getting through. And he traces Rabelais, who's trying to chase into Ridgeway, and Zoltan Zamata is in the background trying to chase them all here as well. Through turn 12 we go. Left-hander, we've not seen anybody out on the curve of 12 at the moment make any vital errors, which is something that we are surprised about here as well, as that turn 12 can be a bit of a problem. We've seen it in multiple different series before, with multiple different cars at turn 12 having spinning on the outside curb. I think that's one that people are going to look out for. Stuart Milne looks like he's just taking a little bit of an excursion off track here as well. But let's continue on board with Verani, and whether or not he's going to be able to get Rabelais coming out of turn 2. Through turn 3 he goes. You can see the gap is only 2 tenths here. Rabelais getting a bit of a slipstream off Ridgeway in front. Now Verani's closing up 1 tenth, 1.5. We're going to be down to nothing. Now Verani, surely this is Verani's move. He's got to go up the inside. He's getting squeezed there as well. He's got him way too hot, Verani. Oh, no.
Well, that was a very unlucky Verani move, I've got to say, on the inside there. We completely bombed it down the inside and unfortunately went way too late on the brakes. Now he's side by side with Volkering, who's been trying to hold off for laps now, and he's stuck on the outside again here through turn 11. That's going to be tricky, and he won't be able to work his way around there. So yeah, that was bizarre. He put his car down the inside of an impossible gap, trying to get ahead of Thibaut Rabelais there. It didn't work out at all. Broke way too late, and he's lucky actually he didn't take anyone else out.
I'm wondering here from Verani's point of view. I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt here. Rabelais went late. Verani left the door open and then just completely missed his braking point and couldn't get that car stopped. The gap was there for Verani. I think just a little bit more consciousness of where he was on the circuit. He might have got that move done and got that car stopped, but I think he just completely, unfortunately, outbraked himself. Didn't see his braking marker and just missed it there, being so close to Rabelais at one point. Probably a little bit aggrieved about being squeezed like he was there as well. So as Demi Brass is going to clear Piper here into the Spitzker, they go. Demir Brass moves himself up into a position. Evan Way now trying to battle away with Piper. Tony Jimenez in the top 5 here at the moment. He has got Brent Ruiz behind him as well. So for Ruiz, he's trying to get hold of Jimenez, and we'll see if he can manage to do that one once more. It's going to be an interesting battle from these guys as we're into these final 14 laps here, and drivers are dropping a little bit. We've lost quite a few. 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 cars, and there's been a lot more that have had incidents than that.
Yeah, there's been quite a few incidents so far today. 43 drivers score points, of course, as long as you're within 90% of the race winner. That's 27 laps that you need to complete today, and so far we've still got 40 who are eligible to still complete with getting into the points. Koji Ito is out of the race to add to Adam Talsman, Kevin Schwebster, Julio Palacio and Nicholas Westman, all of whom out of the race confirmed at the moment. And Gerard Herrera is also getting repairs done at the moment. He is not out for sure, but he certainly won't score points because he's too many laps behind already in this race. So quite a few retirements from this opening round of the season, but that's what you generally see as we're on board with Brent Ruiz trying to make his way through on Tony Jimenez, and might well do for 5th position here. Down the inside he goes, and that was given to him really.
Yeah, I think the problem for Jimenez is if he holds him up too much. He's got Van der Hoek who is trying to close in there. So from Jimenez's point of view, I think it's weighing out the losses against the gains here. You know, you're making sure that he's only lost at one place, where if he had a fight with Ruiz, as these guys go up through turn 11, coming into that mobile 1 curve on the right-hander, this very fast right-hander before they go into turn 12, it's going to be, for Jimenez, it wouldn't have been beneficial for him to hold him up. He's only going to bring Hoik in even more, and he doesn't really want to do that at this stage. I think with 13 laps remaining for Jimenez, he's got to try and stay onto the back of Ruiz. Admit if he hasn't got the pace, just try and drive as conservatively and as cleanly as possible for Jimenez there. Generally, I think that was the right move. I wouldn't have wanted to hold up Ruiz anymore, especially with Van der Hoek closing in as quickly as possible. Piper is into the pits as well there. Will McIntyre-Jones has battled his way back up into 27th here, Ewan, and fighting away with Potapenko.
But where's Samuel Hermert? He's nowhere to be seen at the moment, is he? I can't see him towards the region where he was before. Now he's down in 39th. Is Sammy Herr after coming in for a second time on lap 16. That was only a couple of laps ago. So clearly the incident with Will McIntyre-Jones is not the only one that Samuel Hermer has had over the course of today, and that is a real shame to see for him. McIntyre-Jones looking for this 20th position ahead of Václav Potapenko, who's there. That's awkward. That's Samuel Herbert getting into the back of someone who was coming into pit lane themselves.
Yeah, I believe that may have been coming on here. He goes up here, and I'm wondering if that was Will McIntyre-Jones again in front of us once more. Well, you say surely not, but it looks like McIntyre-Jones's livery, unless
it's not him, because McIntyre-Jones
managed to make it through
once.
Yeah, I'm wondering who that was then, who did end up involved with Samuel Hermer once more. Maximilian Gerhardt here and Reed Dennis. Dennis is just, Gerhardt, has been losing the place to Chris Georgiandolidis as well, as these four are going at it. There's Reed Dennis further behind. I'm looking at that car there, and I'm wondering if it may have been Reed Dennis involved with Samuel Hermer.
He's been into the pit lane on lap 13, though. I can't see anyone who was in on lap 16, which is the only lap which is the lap that Hermer was in on.
It is Reed Dennis.
It is Reed Dennis. So how come that's lap 13 for Reed Dennis and it's lap 16 for Hermer? I don't understand that, but it is clearly for Reed Dennis there. Had to come into pit lane. He got even more damage on his way in. And unfortunately, Hermer, by the way, is back in for a third time, and surely that's going to be it for him now, because he's been in there for over a minute, although he doesn't have any fast repairs left, of course, so maybe he is just repairing damage that he's got onto that car. Good that Reed Dennis is back out there again, though. He's fighting now with Maximilian Gebhardt and Nick Carty. Carty was involved in that lap 1 incident, of course, though, so I'd imagine he will be making his way through on both of these two pretty soon. Yeah,
definitely. We've got Kenzie Neuhoff in the top 4. Battling away there with Andy Flint. We'll pick that battle up. We're just going to let this run out as he's go down into the Parabolica. There is Reed Dennis. Is he going to be able to make this move over Gerhardt? He's got that inside line into Spitzker now. He is just got to send it in here, son. If you're going to make it stick, get it in net. And he did get it in for Reed Dennis there as well. Neuhoff's gap was down to 4 tenths, but unless Flint may have had a little bit of an error there, unfortunately, for Andy Flint, because he's now dropped back. So I'm thinking that may have been the last corner that he got a little bit skew whiffy, because he's now dropped out to over that second mark here as well. Rabelard once more has got Varani for company. He's chasing away on Robert Ridgway here as well. So for Ridgway, that is all he's currently seeing is Rabelard behind him. Big gap starting to develop up front now as well. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1.5, 4.5, 2.5, 2.5. They are starting to break away and starting to spread a bit here. That top 7 opening up.
It is just opening up that little bit, and it's meaning that we're focusing on battles a little bit further down now. Ridgway has been at the front of this group for quite some time, actually, but he wants to continue with that. Varani is going to be his next defendant, though, because he was down the inside there of Thibaut Rabelard, and he's finally made it stick. It's taken Varani an awfully long time,
a probably frustratingly long time actually for the series veteran, but Luca Verani is now finally through to 16th, and he can focus his efforts on getting through on Robert Ridgway, who has been difficult to overtake so far.
Yeah, it definitely has. But Verani, he's not going to drop Rabelard that easily, though. They have been going side by side. Sandstrom fastest lap on the race on a 1:39. That's not going to help Verani dipping a wheel onto that gravel there. Not with Rabelard so close as he is at the moment. Zoltan Zamota and Volkering are going tooth and nail with each other there as well. Volkering is still in front of Zamota at the moment, but for how much longer, that will be the question as these guys come around the final corner here as well. Turn 16 off down that start finish straight they go, going to be whizzing into turn 1 at a rapid rate of knots as well. And turn 1, it always scares me here, Ewan. You're never quite sure how fast you should be going until you realise you've gone too fast
or too slow, which is not as bad, but frustrating. So it is one of those awkward corners. A good corner on this circuit. I think it's a bit stop-start sometimes, this circuit, really, with regards to the rest of it. Can't say it's a favourite to drive. To racing, it's decent, I suppose, and so far we've seen some decent racing on it. We've got Leonard Sherry trying to get into the top 10 by the looks of things at the moment as well. That's a move on Ivan van der Hoek in the 10th position, and it's not come off for Sherry yet. It's a good cutback and maybe not quite the exit that he was looking for, because he hasn't been able to find that top 10 just yet, and so will stay in 11th, but I reckon there's more than enough time for him to make this move in this race now.
Definitely there for Cherry. Can he manage to clear Van der Hoek, who is sitting in that top 10 spot? Sandstrom with the fastest lap again on a 1:31.37. He's getting quicker and quicker as this race goes on here for Sandstrom. Again, if we can keep him in the series and if we can turn up week in, week out, I'm sure he will be a contender come the end of the season. Will McIntyre-Jones is now caught onto the back of Zamota, who has lost space over Volkering here as well. I can't see that anything's happened. Now, the reason Van der Hoek might be also in that moment there as well, where he shouldn't be, is partly because he had his own little moment here as well, going down into turn 12. And there he goes, he spins around. That is why he is in that battle with Cherry. Does manage to clear that car out of the way, but he has lost a good 4 positions in the process. So that is why he is down there. Tineno and Ridgway have had a crash as well. Ridgway going off the side of the circuit. McIntyre-Jones on the defense from Zamota. Zamota's going to go up the inside line. That inside line, not great for exit speed there, Ewan, but the outside line not great either. So Spitzker is kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
It can be very even. We're almost 3 wide here in towards the Mercedes section, as on the inside Volkering tries to hang on from both. McIntyre-Jones can't quite keep alongside. If he was going to be able to do that, then he would have been able to set Volkering offline through that turn and maybe have a bit of joy himself on the inside there, but no, he's a bit wide into the gravel as well. Not good for McIntyre-Jones, who's just trying to recover what he can from this race today. He's down 14 on the day, most of that not really his fault. It's towards an incident. The spin, of course, was his fault, but the fact that he was hit by Hermer, I think, it slightly expanded the consequences for a error that really should have been a pretty innocuous one.
Yeah, definitely here as well. There has been some form of ta-ta-ta. There is, that's Matika here as well. And he goes off. But then, if I'm not mistaken, I think somebody else with Patrick Rowlands may have also come and got off with him here. I'm not quite sure what happened to Rowlands. No, that's all on his own coming out turn 8. Oh.
He nearly found the wall there.
Yeah, Piper's been off as well, and he's gone straight back to the pits. Volkering once more has been off the side of the circuit, unfortunately for Volkering. So he's going to have to be starting to play it careful here as McIntyre-Jones and Zoltan Zamota go once more around the Spitzker. Zamota looks like he's got that run a little bit more here. Volkering is out. He's out here as well. So McIntyre-Jones lost that place. I wonder what Volkering did to basically cause that issue. He's already gone round in turn 1. can't have been any contact. McIntyre Jones is way too far back. Did he? Oh, he did. He bounced the curb. And unfortunately for Volkering, locking brakes are smoking, getting it there as well. Launched it over the curb in turn 1. Never a good idea.
Yeah, it's what that curb is designed to do somewhat. It's to stop you from cutting the corner too much, but it does have pretty disastrous consequences if you do end up clipping it. And that's unfortunately what he's found out there around that corner. You can just see here, it's so difficult to get right. Took it to the left-hand side on the way in, getting as close to that curb as possible, but not getting over it, and then trying to run as wide as possible without getting an off-track as well, which I'm sure has been a little bit of a talking point and a thing to note for these drivers, although it doesn't seem that anybody has fallen afoul of any incident limits or so on so far in this race, and I'd be surprised if they do.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Sandstrom still out in front with Aberdeen there as well. Aberdeen's coming up to a back marker at the moment here as well. So for Lee Aberdeen, he's not only got to deal with that, but he's got to try and make sure Giovanni Salito, who I'm sure will not cause Aberdeen any form of issues whatsoever, because he has got Kenzie Newhoff 2.5 seconds back. Andy Flint is 2.5 seconds back from that. And Brent Ruiz is a further 3.5 back from there as well. Closest battles on track at the moment are Luca Varani, who's coming up to the back of Stuart Milne here. McIntyre Jones is back in the top 20. He's sitting in 19th at the moment. McIntyre Jones is going nose to tail with Zoltan Zamota literally here as well. It's not often we say here, Ewan, the closest battles are down in 15th and 19th for the IGP.
Not too often, but it's what's happened here on this occasion. Sometimes we do see the top 10 spread out a little bit, to be fair, and that's just the way it goes sometimes, but it's what we've got right now. Stuart Milne's not even under that much pressure at the moment, although I would expect Varani to have the time in this race probably to work his way through. Will McIntyre Jones has got a more imminent overtake coming, I would argue. Surely it's going to be any lap now. And once again, he can take his time with this because he's got nearly 6 seconds up to Ridgeway with 5 laps to go at the line, so 5.5 for these guys realistically to go in this race. He's not realistically going to catch that more than a second a lap. That's not going to happen. So
no.
He might as well take his time here. Make sure you do this overtake right. Make sure you don't get involved in any more contact in this race, and make sure you do it cleanly, because there's no point in rushing. I would highly doubt he'll get a position any higher than 18th place today.
No, I fully agree. Same with Varani, really. He's got 4 seconds up the road to Suarez. So from Varani's point of view, he's in the same boat as McIntyre Jones. You might as well just get it done and try and get it done cleanly without causing any more of a dramatic race that you've already had. That was before you'd even got out of turn 1. So if I look at Varani here, it's just sit back and try and clear Stuart Milne when he can. I think, as you say, realistically, he's not going to gain any more than 14th unless something dramatic happens to the guys at the front here, which I really cannot see. They haven't actually put a foot wrong all evening, so I doubt very much the guys in front of him are going to be able to, put a foot wrong again. And Pedro Suarez, who we know is an accomplished racer in the F3s, again, I wouldn't have thought is really going to be caught up by Varani, who has struggled to get past Stuart Milne and has been trying and trying and trying here. Now is this Varani's opportunity. He's gone within that 10th mark. Stuart Milne's on the defence. He's moved out. Varani sent it again on Milne. Is he going to be able to hold on? Is Milne going to try to cut back coming out of Spitscare? He's not, but he is looking for the run, is Stuart Milne, as they're going up through turn 7. Can Varani hold it this time? Or is the Scotsman and Milne going to be coming back here once more into turn 8? He thought about it there. Nothing doing for Stuart Milne, but again, rush it. You've got plenty of straights to close up on Varani. You've managed to hold it back for so long here. Try and make it, make it back through on him.
Well, he's going to try, but I think it's all going to be in vain for Milne, and he's gone wide again through the Mobil 1 curve as well. I think Varani's going to have this place now. It was pretty textbook actually through the hairpin from Varani. He was later on the brakes, had the optimum line on the way in, got through without too much trouble. His exit speed wasn't actually that good, and that's what you get from the outside. of Milne there. He did get a better run on the exit, but it still wasn't enough to come back at Varani, who would have been surprised to see that anyway. And so now he is through. The best he can hope for in terms of an improvement of position is maybe contact in the battle for 12th place between Sebastian Hirsch and Pedro Suarez. Those two have gotten a bit closer together over the last couple of moments. Suarez looking for his 14th position gained in the race today.
Yeah, it's crazy that we're talking Pedro Suarez and 14 places. You know, that's unheard of for Suarez. He's normally well in with inside the top 10, and for Suarez, you know, his average start position was 10th, his average finish position was 14th last season alone. He knocked up 5 top 5s. He was right up there. He finished 5th. So to see him here at a track that, yes, is a difficult circuit, I'm not going to deny that whatsoever, and to see him so far back that he started down in 26th and gained 13 places, that's a shock for some people to see Suarez down that low.
I think it is, and it's a bizarre one. I didn't see it coming. Normally you don't really see surprises in qualifying in this series because it's half an hour. I know everyone's out there together, and it's probably quite busy at a circuit like this when you've got nearly 50 cars and only a minute and a half lap. It's an average of a car every 2 seconds. That's very difficult to find space, to be fair, but even so, half an hour is a long time, and you should be able to get an optimum lap in. Admittedly, this circuit for off-tracks as well is probably tricky, and combine that with track space, maybe it's difficult, but a driver of Suarez's quality should be able to manage that in half an hour. Clearly something went wrong there. I'm not sure whether it was all his fault or not, but something went wrong for Pedro Suarez. It's given him a lot of work to do over the course of the race. Where could he have got to without it? I reckon he could have had a top 10, but it will be a case of what could have been for him today.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Nick Carty down in 29th, battling away with Blanco in front of us. We've got Kessler behind that with Rowlands, who you just see a flash off in the background. Oh no, Zoltan Zamotta. What did you do? But whatever you did, you lost places in the meantime. That's with McIntyre Jones. Oh!
That's a bizarre place to lose it.
Very. But it has Rabelard and Ridgway have got closer together, and also Scattini and Berry. So we've gone from that battle where Zamotta just loses it randomly to now picking up on the battle here for 16th and 17th. Both men up 14 and 8 positions respectively, of course. Ridgway is looking at giving Rabelard a whole load of grief here before they go into that final lap, which they will be doing next time around here, Ewan. It's been a scrappy race, right? And I think we can openly admit that it has been a little bit scrappy, but the racing has been all the way through the field. There's people been battling all the way through the field every single lap here.
Yeah, it certainly had a feel to the sort of opening race of the season. Varani was fearing a lot of trouble on lap 1. Unfortunately, we did get that. It spread out the field for the rest of the race as well, which has been unfortunate, but there has been plenty of battles going on even throughout. Robert Ridgway, looking for 16th place, is one of them. He's taken the widest of wide line through the Parabolica, really extending the distance that he has to take. But I understand why he's doing it. He just doesn't want to give the slipstream to Rabelard there, who will now be demoted to 17th. Jesper Sandström's about to start the final lap, which is something he wasn't able to do last time he was leading a race in this series. It was at Belle Isle last season. He crashed on the penultimate lap because me and Biggles were basically saying he's already won. I'm not sure that's the reason he crashed, but that did happen. Thankfully, he's got through the penultimate lap this time. Hopefully, he'll get through the last lap as well.
Well, here he goes down into turn 1. I want to have a look what happened to Zer Blanco and Patrick Rowlands, I believe, here as well. Oh, there is Zer. Once more, he's going to go over the curb. Round he goes, comes back on. Kessler there just manages to avoid him. Where did Rowlands lose his car? But wherever he did it all on his own. Did he get through here? There's Blanco. Oh no, he did manage to get through, but then ends up doing that. So unfortunately for Roland, they're not a good opening race either. Suarez still on the back of Sebastian Hirsch as well. Rabelard into the pits, mind you. That's partly, well, I don't really know what that is. I think it's just, you reckon?
I think that, yeah, because when you saw him, Ridgway pass him earlier, into the hairpin, I saw him lifting off dramatically on the way towards the hairpin, and I thought that's a bit weird. Thought he was just letting Ridgway through, but now that he's in the pits putting 2 and 2 together, I reckon he might have underfueled that car by a lap.
Well, there you go. Sandstrom is going to come around here as well. Yeah, once more, Jesper Sandstrom with Lee Aberdeen and Kenzie Neuhoff with your 1, 2, 3. Sandstrom's coming over the line. He does complete the final lap this time. He leads from start to finish. He goes over the line and takes that victory. Lee Aberdeen comes over as well, and Sandstrom, just for good measure, gets the final fastest lap of the race. Neuhoff starts his title defence with a 3rd place with Andy Flint and Ruiz there as well. Pedro Suarez still battling away with Sebastian Hirsch. Is he going to be able to get through in turn 15? He looked at making the move now for Suarez. He did kind of, well, no, you're tightened up 15, which was never good. You really needed more of a sweeping action through 15 there. Suarez, Ben Goyet he's got Potapenko in front of him as these guys come round 15 as well. I don't think these are going to change positions here though, Ewan. An unexpected race from the standards point of view, but a good race nevertheless, can we say?
It was a decent race. I think it was very much shaped by the opening lap, which was unfortunate really, not what we wanted to see on the opening lap of this season. Such a big accident, but it happened, and thankfully at least some people got through and got out of the chaos, because it was a very messy opening to the season. Decent racing after that as well, but I'm sure we'll get some better ones over the course of this season. Not a bad way to open the season, but looking forward to getting into it properly. But it almost feels like this is not part of the season, because we've got to wait a massive 2 weeks, 3 weeks even, for the next round, after missing New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve, of course.
But to be honest, let's be real. I think that was always going to be missed, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, as we say. But here are the results of the opening round of Season 1 of 23-24. Here, Jesper Sandstrom is your winner with Lee Aberdeen in 2nd. Kenzie Neuhoff in 3rd. Andy Flint in 4th. Brett Ruiz, their new driver, in 5th. Tony Jimenez 6th. Mackenzie Roon in 7th, with Sinan Demibas in 8th, Evan Way in 9th, Eva Van Hoyk in 10th, Leonard Cherry in 11th, with Sebastian Hirsch there managing to hold off Pedro Suarez. Luca Varani, well, not sure if he's going to be happy, if he's not going to be happy, but either way, he finished down in 14th, with Schumiln in 15th. Robert Ridgway in 16th, Will McIntyre-Jones there in 17th after having a good qualifying for McIntyre-Jones. Unfortunately, couldn't turn it up and lost 12 positions as the race went on. Vyacheslav Potapenko in 18th, Ben Goyet in 19th, Ryan Berry in 20th, Reno Scattini in 21st, Zoltan Zamora in 22nd, Jacques Willems in 23rd, Thibard Rabelard in 24th, with Chris Stewart in 25th. Beyond that, you've got Reed Dennis, Chris George Andalidis in 27th, Marcello Kessler 28th, Nick Carty in 29th, Serge Blanco in 30th, with Matt Brewer in 31st, Maximilian Gerbart in 32nd, with Patrick Rowlands in 33rd, and Matthew Gracie and Premislav Mayatka in 35th. Andy Giovanni Salito, Oscar Antinano in 37th, and then you've got the guys who are not going to score points here because they're just too far back. Mikael Volkenring, Patrick Piper, Samuel Hermer, Gerard Haridia, Koji Ito, Adam Townsma and Kevin Zwemstra. And then on from Kevin Zwemstra, there was Julio Palacio, Nicholas Westman and Clark Williams. A very interesting opening race here, Ewan. If Sandstrom can stay to the season, he's in with a shout. Aberdeen got off to a great start. Neuhoff taking 3rd. Could be a good one here.
Yep, 3 previous champions of this series in the top 3 there in this race. Didn't see a lot of them today because they weren't fighting each other, but if they were here all season, we're in for a great one. Jesper Sandstrom, I think, is sort of doubtful, really, and I haven't spoken to him about it, of course, in terms of being here for the entirety of the season, but based on previous seasons that we've seen of him. He often turns up to win a race or two, but not for a championship charge. I hope that that's different this time around, especially if you saw the qualifying times. He was 3 tenths quicker than anybody else. 3 tenths quicker, including than second place, by the way, in qualifying. That is absolutely remarkable. He will be a force to be reckoned with over the course of this season. Really hope that those podium drivers will be here for the entirety.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with you once more, as always. Right, guys, that's going to round it out here as well. We've got more racing this week coming up on the JPB YouTube channel with Clios, MX-5s, GT4s, Radicals, GT3s. They're all going off this week before we break for Christmas, which kicks in on the 23rd. The 22nd, I believe, is the last one before we go on our 2-week break. That takes us round to the 3rd is the first race back. So let's see, guys, and let's hopefully we'll see you on track very, very shortly. But for now, from myself up here in the booth, I've been James Parfitt alongside Ewan O'Leary. Take care. Have a great week. And you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.